So today we want to discuss the concept of concept. What is a concept? What is a function of the concept? Or rather, when we want to discuss the concept, we should more deal with conceptualization or the art or the capacity to produce concept, which is a very important thinking skill, as well in a way defines philosophy. That's what Deleuze say, that philosophy is the art of producing concept. Yeah. So what is a concept? What does it mean to conceptualize? Well, first of all, we should think of it as a tool. And the etymology of the word concept sort of indicates the fact it's a tool, it's an instrument, and not simply some fixed object. Concept comes from Latin, concipere, which composed of cum, which means together, and capere, to take. So in other words, a concept has as a primary function to take together, right? So let's try to be concrete and see what this means. Well, let's take an apple. You know, I see an apple, I see another apple, I see something else that looks like an apple. And if I want to say to bring these different fruits that I saw, and I would have to name them one by one, I would say bring apple A and bring apple B and bring apple C. Although I'm already using the concept when I say that, I would have to say bring object 1, object 2, object 3, yeah, which again is a concept anyhow. But the idea is by drawing from this multiplicity of entities, which are these apples, calling them apple, I'm creating a category, something with a general idea, which captures all these different elements, all these different objects that will fall under this category. So a concept, in a way, it's a view of the mind, yeah, something that the mind construct to perceive, to think. And it's the idea that we have of something by detaching it from its real object. In other words, when I say apple, well, it's not any particular apple. I cannot eat or see or even describe apple. I can eat or see or describe a particular apple. Say it's big, it's small, it's red, it's yellow, it's rotten, it's still small, it's not ripe yet. But apple does not have any of this characteristic. Apple is a general category. It's a concept that I use to recognize or to unite or to put together all these different elements which have some common characteristics, which make that I can put them in the same category. Yeah? So the idea here of a concept is an instrument of the mind to be able to think different objects in terms of their unity. Yeah? So it's sort of a coup, a thinking coup, because it's pretty bold if you think about it, what we can do with a concept. And to give a simple example, the concept of universe. When I say universe, I am pretending through one word to capture the totality of what exists. Yeah? It is rather bold operation, but it's very useful in terms of representation of the world around us, to be able to define it, to be able to name it. Yeah. So here, the idea of the concept implies that something or things have common characteristic. And these common characteristics will be the definition of the things entering in this category. When I define an apple as a specific kind of fruit, then I am saying that anything that enters that corresponds to the description of an apple, therefore, can be called an apple. And so it is with human beings, with cars, with whatever we think of. Yeah. So then we see the concept is used to organize the world we live in, to categorize. In fact, what are the categories? There are concepts that are used to divide reality. For example, we have zoological concepts such as mammals, which are different from reptiles. So when I have animals, I have an animal, I have to see if it enters in the category of mammal or enters in the category of reptile. But to do this, I need specific characteristic of these different categories, specific aspect which define that a mammal is a mammal. Yeah? For example, as the name indicates, he has mammals and he can feed the children through the little ones through these mammals. And reptiles will have other types of characteristics. So to be able to have a concept to conceptualize, we need something rather precise. Now, a concept is a word. In a way, it's nothing but a word, or maybe an expression. It can be the name of an entity, but as well it can be a phenomenon, right? For example, if I say that grouping in herd, if I say grouping in herd, it's the act of making herd. It can be a concept, it's an expression. But we should distinguish the fact that a concept is not an idea. I am not making a proposition. I cannot say a concept is right or wrong. I can use it rightly or wrongly, but in itself, it's just a word. It's just a name for something. It's neither right nor wrong. When I have an idea, I'm going to compose something with some concept. For example, I'll say the apple is red or the apple is round. And then I can say, well, this is true, this is false. But in itself, a concept is not true nor false. It's just a name and I will give. There's something arbitrary. In fact, philosophers are known for that. Suddenly, they will call something with a name, and that name will be very specific. And that is a characteristic of the concept. It's a word which has a specific content. In fact, there are two ways we can think of a concept. One which is through its comprehension, its definition, its denotation, what it is, how it's defined, what we see in the dictionary, but as well it can be its extension, the sum of all the elements which correspond to this category. Yeah? You can, of course, it's hard to make a list of all the apples in the world, but a concept could be defined by a totality. So it's either defined by the unity, what is common to all the elements entering this category, but as well through its extension, it can be described as the sum. For example, you could describe the mammals as by giving all the different animals that enter in the mammal category and say mammals is this species, it's monkeys, it's elephants, it's whatever would enter in the mammal category. So you can either define mammals by taking its specific characteristic, which you can call the comprehension of mammal, or you can as well give all the list, the whole list of the elements that belong to this category, what is called this extension. Now, we use, of course, concept without realizing it, what you can call intuitive concept, because the mind needs general words in order to be able to express itself. But when we want to work more specifically on the concept, there are different type of activities that we could be doing with the concept. First of all, to define a concept, that's what you find in a dictionary. You look for a word and it will give you a specific meaning of that word, what is called defining the word, unless there are different definitions, and it might give you different definitions of the word, which often is the case. That's the problem with language, where words have a history and they're used in different ways. So you can have different definitions. But still, a word is not just anything. Even though it has different definitions, it still circumscribes what it refers to. And if something does not enter in the description, then the word does not correspond to it. So defining the word is an important way to conceptualize. Another way to conceptualize is to use the word. When we make sentences, when we state things, when we affirm something, we are using concept without realizing it. When I say that mammals produce milk, although the problem here, in a way, it's what Kant calls analytic judgment, because I'm using producing milk, which is part of the definition of a mammal. But when I say some mammals eat grass, which is the case in some, or some mammals eat meat, then I'm adding some information. And if I apply this to the lion, they say, no, this is not true. That mammal doesn't eat grass, or at least it's not its main food. But if a goat eats grass, yes. So here we have propositions. So we can use concepts to make propositions. And in general, when we state something, we use concept, we use words. But here, maybe we should introduce the fact that the difference would be that a concept is an important word. When you make a proposition, you would try to identify what is crucial. For example, if I say that goats eat grass, I would say the main concept is goat, because I'm going to say something about the goat. The grass is only an object that the goat is eating, unless the whole issue is to define the different type of food. So all this is not fixed and determined. It depends what you are trying to do with your proposition. But you can think of the concept as a crucial word in a proposition, which in itself is not true nor false, but the proposition itself can be declared true or false. So you can use, after you define a concept, you use a concept. As well, you can identify a concept. When you have a text, for example, you're going to read this text, try to understand it, and you will say the key issue in this text is about this, right? It's about love, for example, and love is mentioned. So then you identify the concept, which is the key word, the key engine, in a way, of this text. The word around which the whole text is rotating. It's the center of the text, this word. So you will identify. But it may be that the word is absent. For example, suppose I write a letter to someone, and I say, I cannot live without you. You're the most beautiful person in the world. Any minute away from you, I suffer. Well, you would, even though I would not mention the word love, you would say, this is a love letter. So in this case, the concept is not mentioned. It's not that you can identify it, but you can produce it. You will say, this is about love, because the content of this text, the meaning of this text, basically is turning around or dealing with the idea of love. Yeah. So these are different ways by which we can work on concept. And a fifth way where we work on concept is what can be called conceptual distinction, because sometimes words come with kind of close meanings. And so we're going to try to distinguish two concepts by finding a third concept that would make a difference. Between them. Yeah. For example, I say car and a cart. Yeah. Both are used to transport people, but the car, I would say, would have an engine. When the car doesn't have an engine, it's pulled by animals, for example. Yeah. Even though, of course, you can say the car has as well different meanings. But if you take the word car in its most usual way, yeah, it means it has an engine. It's supposed to have an engine, otherwise it's not really a car. So then you would have to find a third concept. Engine would distinguish car and cart. So conceptual distinction is another way to work on the conceptualization, right? Now, it is not the most obvious thing to conceptualize. There is intuitive conceptualization, but then there's formal conceptualization. And in the history of mankind, there's very specific people that have introduced the idea of conceptualization. And probably one of the key figures in philosophy is Socrates. And how did they introduce the idea of conceptualization is the question, what is? Like, what is beauty, for example? And then people would say, well, beauty is a beautiful horse, a beautiful woman, a beautiful whatever, sculpture. And Socrates would say, no, these are examples of beauty. These are things that are beautiful, but you're not telling me what beauty is. And he would insist to try to conceptualize beauty as the characteristic of things which are declared beautiful. So he wanted to define beauty. So this is a rather difficult endeavor, because as we see in the Plato dialogues, all the attempts by Socrates to invite his interlocutors to define a concept or to seize the essence of something becomes very, very difficult. Yeah, and this is in particularly the case for a special category of concept, which can be called transcendent concepts, like beauty, unity, truth, right? Which are concepts we use to evaluate or judge many things. So these are concepts that are so self-reference, which cannot be so much explained by other concepts. Yeah. But basically, the idea that a concept is a mental representation, which is abstract and general, which is supposed to be rather objective. Yeah, it's supposed to be stable and, of course, be expressed verbally. Yeah, and it should identify the essence of something. It should seize the unity of a multiplicity, or it should categorize a set of people, right? And then this abstract and general idea makes a concrete thought object, even though it's abstract, but which allows to attach to this abstract representation many perceptions that we have. Because, like I said, in the case of the concept of apple, I see many apples, and I can attach to the abstract idea of apple the different apples that I will notice. Yeah. So we can tell how important it is in terms of representing reality, in terms of grasping reality, in terms of organizing reality. But then the difficulty is to conceptualize. We need at the same time a capacity of judgment to discriminate. It's not a matter simply of say, for me, it is this or that, but a capacity to discriminate the nature of different things and try to get their essence. Yeah. And when we have a multiplicity of objects, when we have a text, the capacity to produce a word that would capture the essence of the text, the brunt of the text, what is the most important issue this text is about, right? Which is something not always obvious, because see, the mind tends to think more naturally with examples, with story, because life is like this. Life is full of events, and when people speak, they will tell all events about their life, yeah, or they will give example, concrete example, because that's what we perceive. So that's when we are asked to conceptualize, we have to get out, we have to go away, we have to abstract, get out of all these concrete example and give something which has no particular form, because the concept of chair is not visible. I can recognize it maybe when I see it, but to define a chair, which is a very, in a way, simple object, is a rather difficult. People want to try, can try that exercise, but you'll see it's a rather difficult exercise. So to conceptualize is both something we do intuitively, something that is very useful, but to conceptualize in a rigorous way, in a creative way, in a coherent way, is a rather challenging endeavor.